Hello and welcome to the Syracuse University College of Law podcast, where we discuss pressing legal topics with our distinguished faculty and alumni. I am Dr. Corey Zoli, Director of Research at the Institute for National Security and Counterterrorism. Today, we're going to discuss your recent research, Courtney, a report at New America called ISIS in the West, the New Faces of Extremism. The report essentially investigates what draws Westerners to jihadist groups. I'd like to introduce my guest, Courtney Schuster, a 2013 graduate of the College of Law and co-author of the report. Hello and welcome back, Courtney.
Hi, Corey. Thanks for having me.
So you've addressed a very timely issue in this report for the New America Foundation. What did you learn when you investigated young people who have left their home countries to join jihadist groups?
We learned two main points. One, sort of a demographic or a profile of these individuals. And two, we were finding why they were going. As for the profile, with regards to Americans, for example, we found that they're young. There really is no specific profile. And for motivations, we found a whole mix of motivations, but for primary reasons.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about those four primary reasons?
Sure. So we looked at their social media and why they were claiming they were going. The four reasons that we found were: one, they were opposed to Assad and troubled with what was happening to Muslims in Syria. Two, we found that they had a spiritual belief that they had to participate in jihad in order to be a Muslim. Three, that they had the obligation to live under a caliphate. And four, that they expressed alienation from Western society and oppression within their home countries.
Those are very fascinating findings. To what extent does your research focus on Americans as distinctive from other Westerners? So, for instance, are those four lessons learned applicable to all European jihadists, foreign fighters who are traveling, or is this largely an American profile or phenomenon that you're looking at?
As to the motivations, that was more Westerners as a whole. Our sample, we only looked at 475 Westerners, and of those, only 83 were Americans. So it was almost too small of a sample to clearly distinguish why they were going. We found all of those motivations were applicable to certain Americans.
What distinguishes Americans from Westerners? In some ways, Western European countries, Belgium, France, the UK, have had more foreign fighters traveling to Syria and Iraq and to other jihadist organizational sites, right, than Americans. What explains the difference, and does your research help us understand that? In some ways, Americans have had less of a foreign fighter problem than some other Western European countries.
Yeah, Corey, that's right. Westerners as a whole from Europe, there's more of them. It's a larger problem in Europe. In America, the official count is only 250 individuals have gone, whereas with France, for example, it's almost 1,500. One of the explanations could possibly be that France, for example, has quite a large Muslim diaspora, mostly French Algerians, and France has had a big problem integrating those individuals who are third and fourth generation into their society, whereas here in the United States, our founding, our historical background is immigrants and integrating into the American dream. And so that could be one factor, is that in America, we are a little bit better at integrating new individuals into our society, whereas a lot of European countries with history of colonialism have greater issues with those issues.
That's very interesting. Do you think, judging from your research, that the recent attacks in Paris will impact this issue? Will it create more foreign fighters? Will there be a coalitionist response? How do you see the recent attacks in Paris playing into some of your research priorities?
Right. With the Paris attacks, we're definitely seeing consistencies in our research. For example, we found 7 returnees from Syria who were plotting a domestic attack, and 3 were in Belgium and 4 were in France. And those are the 2 countries that are playing major roles in the current attack. So we think it's just sort of highlighting the issue, and then it also, the individuals involved in the attack are fitting with our profile. We have an average age of 25. We do have a lot of individuals with family connections, so the 3 brothers that were involved. We think it's just putting an emphasis on the problem. And as you said, that perhaps some sort of French response or coalition area would probably result.
Okay. Do you feel that most Western nations are doing enough to address this problem? And more specifically, what do you think, judging from your research, that governments can do?
So our report concludes with some recommendations. We definitely think that the United States could take some more actions. For example, some European countries have de-radicalization programs, the UK, I believe Denmark and Finland, to try and sort of provide an off-ramp for individuals returning, but also to prevent individuals from going in the first place. And as part of that, we think that families could take a larger role, the community, religious communities, both the ethnic community, just their cities, could definitely play a role in preventing individuals from going in the first place.
If you think about government mechanisms that you mentioned, especially in the UK, which has a fair number of preventative and mitigation strategies, and France, which has fewer, even Belgium, which has some, but they're fewer as well than the UK. Do you see a correlation between those government strategies and success or results in stemming the flow of foreign fighters?
Right. It's hard to tell. The United Kingdom, like you mentioned, does have de-radicalization programs in place. However, it has one of the highest numbers of Westerners. An estimated 750 about have gone over to Syria. France, like you mentioned, has about double the number of people going over to Syria, but not as extensive in their mitigation. They mostly just rely on judicial proceedings after the fact. Belgium has an estimated 300 to 350 people going over. That's the highest per capita ratio for all Western countries. But Belgium does have fairly extensive community-based de-radicalization programs. So it's really hard to tell.
Good, that's very interesting. So can you talk with us a little bit, Courtney, about which aspects of your Syracuse University law education and training prepared you for this research, and more particularly to handle this incredibly timely and complex data?
Right. What helped me the most was actually working for INSCT and working for you for so long. Just building, this is based on a data set that I built. It's just learning how to research, to do quality research, to vet the sources properly, and then analyze the data, and then go and write a report in a weekend and make sure that it's a well-written report that is going to garner attention for the correct reasons.
Are there other aspects of your coursework and training here at Syracuse University Law that helped you in this research endeavor?
Definitely. I guess it started with my legal writing class, 1 year with Professor Riganese, the international section, and then taking the national security law and related coursework with Professor Banks and Professor Crane. Definitely gave me the foundation to write this report and conduct all of this research on ISIS and the foreign fighters who go over.
Courtney, I know a lot of folks are curious and anxious about the potential for an attack by a foreign fighter in the United States. Can you speak to that, judging from your research?
We looked at 83 Americans in our report, and of those 83, only 23 have actually reached Syria, and 9 have already died, whereas 5 are in custody. So we have seen no instance of a returnee attacking the United States so far, and only one instance where a returnee has plotted an attack in the United States. And that was the case of a 23-year-old Ohio man who was plotting to attack a military base in Texas. But what we believe is the greater threat is ISIS-inspired violence in the United States. So not people going to Syria and coming back, but people here who have never been to Syria who are just inspired by ISIS. And we've had many instances, about one per month, where an individual has been arrested and charged for plotting an ISIS-inspired attack.
And that's where, of course, ordinary Americans being aware and pushing back against some of these ideological issues is very important. So thank you, Courtney. That's very helpful. And congratulations on all of your research and your success. It's quite a career trajectory for you, coming from Syracuse University College of Law and INSCT, and then being in this advanced research role at a very impressive think tank in Washington, D.C., the New America Foundation.
Thank you, Corey.
One last question for you, Courtney. How can a listener read your report?
It's available on New America's website.
So, Courtney, thank you so much for your time. For more information about Syracuse University College of Law, please visit law.syr.edu, and please join us again next time.